What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma if you're new here, and I love to talk about all things Peloton cycling and fitness. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post every single Sunday, and today's video I'm going to be reviewing Peloton's pretty new yin yoga collection. They released it back in February and I am intrigued. I've never done yin yoga before. I've only done vinyasa, which I think is usually the typical yoga that people do. And they released 5 classes by Dennis Morton and Aditi Shaw. I love Dennis. I also like Aditi, so I think it should be a pretty good collection of classes. And honestly, I don't even know what yin yoga is. The description is go deeper with yin. You'll target connective tissue over muscle and hold poses longer than usual. Achieve stillness and stability while enjoying the meditative, exploratory nature of these classes. And a lot of these classes are longer. There's one 20-minute class, 2 30-minute classes, and 2 45-minute classes. And I looked at some of the class plans and yeah, you essentially hold moves for a really long time, 3 to 5 minutes, which is not normal in vinyasa yoga. So I'm really excited. I just finished my marathon this past week, so I could use some stretching, some going deeper into poses. I am not a very flexible person, but I have really been enjoying yoga lately, and I'm hoping that this is just another branch that I can learn about, learn some new moves, and hopefully stretch it out. So in this video, I'll take all 5 classes, but I figured I would start with the shortest class and then work my way up because I feel like going into a 45-minute yin yoga class with no experience would be kind of a lot. So today's class is going to be a 20-minute yin yoga class by Dennis Morton from February 21st, 2023. They're all from that day because they all dropped at the same time. There's only 2 songs for this whole class, and I don't know either, so I'm interested to see what the music is like. And we have 3 movements, and then Savasana. So should be a fairly chill class. I'm ready to stretch it out. Hopefully we'll do some, leg stretches. And let's just go and knock out my first ever yin yoga class. I actually really liked that class. I thought that it might be a little boring for me because I typically don't like really slow moving things. And this class was definitely very slow moving, but it was really almost meditative. Dennis wasn't leading a meditation, but because you were moving so slowly and holding the stretches for so long, you just had a lot of time to relax and think, which I actually really enjoyed. It was also the first class that I took before any of my workout, and it was early in the morning, so I feel like I like this kind of class earlier than later in the day when I have more energy. I just felt like it was a really nice thing to wake up to. So we did 3 moves for the entire class. We started with a saddle pose where you essentially were on your knees and just sitting back on your feet. And another thing is that Dennis gave a ton of modifications and a ton of different things you could do, which I really appreciate because I need a lot of modifications. I am not flexible. And since you held it for so long, you could start with one way, and then if you felt like you were getting more into the stretch, you could move the block down or do something different that would put you even deeper into the stretch, which I thought was cool. So after the saddle pose, we did half butterfly pose where one leg is straight and the other leg is in butterfly. So it is crossed kind of in front of you and your foot meets the straight leg. And we did that on both sides. And then we finished with dragonfly pose, which was essentially just having both of your feet out and leaning forward, which that was probably the one I struggled the most with. I am just so not flexible, but we held it for a long time. It was a good stretch. And then we just finished with Savasana. So that's always nice. And the Savasana was 3 minutes and it passed that to me. I was in it. And then he's like, oh, if you can keep holding it, like keep hold it, but the class is over. And I was like, oh my gosh, that finished so fast. The music was just kind of like bells in the background, which was interesting. But I also like that because sometimes I just pay too much attention to the music. So it was nice to like really just focus on the stretches, focus on my thoughts. I think Dennis did a really good job of leading it. And now I'm more excited to take the longer classes because I really was not bored the entire time I took it, which was my number one concern. So definitely a good start. Also, Dennis talked a lot about how like basically restorative yoga should be like a 1 to 2 out of 10, and this should be like a little more difficult than restorative yoga. This should be like a 3 to 4 out of 10. And then he also acknowledged that like sometimes if you're holding a stretch, it can feel like not that bad at the beginning, but then feel way worse as you like continue to hold it if you're going out too hard, and like to not be afraid to adjust. I really appreciated how Dennis just took more time to like explain what yin yoga was in the first place, and then also just to like make it feel very welcoming as someone that's never done it before. I 100% think anybody could like take this class and do modifications and feel like they got a good yoga stretch in. So I'd give this class like a 9.5 out of 10 for enjoyment. I really, really enjoyed it. And then a 3 to 4 out of 10 for difficulty because it's not supposed to be like some super hard class. We were just getting some good stretches in. It is now a couple days later. It's actually Friday morning, and what better day than Friday to do some yin yoga. I'm ready to be relaxed, feeling good. Last work day of the week, and I'm just going all in today. I'm going to be doing the 45-minute Yin Yoga by Aditi Shaw from February 21st, 2023. There's only 2 songs again, so I assume it's going to be like the bells vibes. And it says there are 16 movements. So, you know, that's pretty fast for yin yoga, even though we do have 45 minutes. So I'm excited to see what this one is like. I really like the 20-minute with Dennis. So I have high hopes for this class. And I think it'll be a really nice way to just kind of take it easy this Friday morning, stretch out the body and feel good. So let's go knock out this yoga class. I really enjoyed that yoga class. I just really like yin yoga. I feel like you hold the poses for so long that you can get like deeper and deeper into it as you hold it. And I also just think it's so relaxing. Like we're just holding the stretch. I can think about anything. I don't really meditate during it, but I just think about like different things, and like I find it very, very relaxing. I'm looking at it now and there's like a transition in between each move. So that means we did 8 moves. And I believe 6 of the 8, it was like 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. So it was a very, very slow moving class. Like we were holding each move for 3 to 5 minutes, which no complaints. I really felt like I could get into it. We started with child's pose, and then we went into a dragon C pose, which is essentially like a lunge where your back knee is down. So you really feel it in like your hips and your legs, and I really like that move. Then we did a shoelace pose where you like kind of cross your legs over each other and sit down, and then also put your head down. And another thing that I really am enjoying about the longer times is that because you're going to be in it for so long, I really spend a lot of time and figure out like where the block should be to get myself into like the most comfortable position while also still stretching myself, because I feel like sometimes when instructors use blocks in regular yoga classes, if we're only going to hold the pose for like 15 seconds, I don't really need to use blocks, or like it's not even worth to set up the blocks in order to hold it for that short. But since we're spending like 5 minutes in this pose, I am going to adjust the blocks to be absolutely perfect. And especially for like the shoelace pose, I was really fooling around trying to figure out like what felt the best, which I really liked. And I also want to get a yoga bolster now because I only have blocks, and I feel like a bolster could really up level this. You could obviously use blocks because that's what I do right now, but a lot of the times you're supposed to sit on the yoga bolster, and I just sit on a block instead. But a yoga bolster is probably like a little more comfortable. Then we did the dragon seat and shoelace pose on the other side. And then we finished off with a sleeping swan pose, where is essentially like a pigeon pose. You have one foot like bent in front of you and you're leaning over. And then we finished off with a butterfly pose where you just have both your feet like in a butterfly position. Your feet are together and bent. And I was getting real deep into that pose, which felt really good because I don't feel like I can get deep into a lot of poses because I'm not super flexible, but I think we were just like holding it for so long and I like kept feeling my legs getting deeper and deeper into it. So overall, I love this class. Definitely slow moving. I highly recommend to take it in the morning. It was such a nice class to just take like right when I woke up, but yeah, great class. The music was bells again, which really I'm fine with, and Aditi was great. I feel like she talked less than Dennis and kind of like was just silent for a lot of it, but honestly, that's also fine with me. I like both. I like Aditi because it was more quiet and you can just like think to yourself. But I feel like Dennis spent more time like explaining what yin yoga was, which I think there's value in both, and I liked both for different reasons. So 10 out of 10 to today's class. I definitely think that I will take it again in the future. Difficulty like 3 to 4 out of 10. Not a difficult class. I think anybody could take it. And again, she does give a lot of modifications, a lot of ideas of what you can do with the blocks. Just really, really great class for all levels. It is now Sunday morning, and what way to kick off a Sunday is better than some active recovery yin yoga. I do not have a hard workout up today, but I figured this would be a great like active recovery workout to do since it is fairly easy, just a lot of stretching and very chill. It's a nice way to kick off a Sunday morning. And since I'm having a slow Sunday morning, I have a ton of time. So I'm going to be doing the other 45-minute yin yoga class. This one is by Dennis Morton from February 21st, 2023. There are 7 movements for the 45 minutes and there's 3 songs. So I'm interested to see what kind of different moves we do compared to the other 45-minute class we just did. But I love Dennis. I don't think he'll steer me wrong. And I think it will be a very relaxing but nice way to like still move my body a little bit without doing some intense workout. So let's go and knock out this 45-minute yoga class. I liked this yoga class, but I didn't love it. I probably liked Aditi's 45-minute class more just because I feel like Dennis kind of blabbers. It was nice during the 20-minute class, especially since that was the first class that I took, that he talked a lot about like the differences of yin yoga versus like recovery yoga versus just normal yoga and like what we should be feeling and like the background of yin yoga in general. But now that I know it, I like don't need to hear the same thing again. Like I feel like it was very repetitive to the 20-minute class. And I just feel like sometimes I want to chill out, take a second and like think to myself during these poses. And he did not talk sometimes, but it felt like for the majority of the class, I'd say like 80 to 90% of the class, he was talking during it. And for a 45-minute class, that's a lot of talking. The moves themselves I thought were pretty good. We only had like 7 different moves. We started out with pentacle pose, which is basically shavasana, where instead of like your arms being by your side, you're like out like a star essentially. Then we went into banana pose, which is like being on your back and leaning like this. You get a nice side stretch. Then we went into caterpillar pose, and that was essentially like leaning over and stretching your feet were straight and like bending over. I honestly don't know if I got the right position for that because it was kind of straining my lower back. I kept trying to adjust, but I'm not sure if I ever hit that. Then we went into butterfly pose, and I love butterfly pose. We did that with Aditi's class as well, and I just feel like I like really get into it. I do use a block to prop myself up, which I think helps me get deeper into it. That's the other thing. This class was very, very bolster heavy. Like almost every single move, you needed a bolster, and I do not have one. So I was making do with the blocks, which is possible, but I definitely think I would have benefited from some yoga bolsters during this class. Like I had to make some modifications here and there to be able to get into the positions. After that, we did frog pose, which was probably my least favorite. You like bent your legs out like in this angle and then your waist was here. And he did use a blanket, which I also did not have. I should find a blanket that I can use yoga with. So I think that that would have taken some of the pressure off my knees, but I feel like it was really hard on my legs. And I don't know if I like had the correct position, but I did try to like fidget around and find a comfortable position. Then we did swan pose, which is essentially pigeon pose. That's always a good move to stretch out the glutes. And then we finished with reclining twist pose, which is essentially just like crossing over your legs and then twisting over. I love a good back twist. My back always cracks, always feels very good. And then we finished with Shavasana. So overall, I thought it was a good class and I liked the moves we did for the most part. Not a huge fan of caterpillar or frog pose, but you know, we did them. But yeah, he was just very, very chatty and definitely highly recommend having a bolster for this class because otherwise it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. But overall, I still enjoyed it. I give it a 7 out of 10 for enjoyment. I definitely think that I kind of vibe with Aditi's styling more, but it was still a good class and then like a 3 to 4 out of difficulty. It was not difficult. None of these should be. So that is it for the 45-minute classes. I only have 30-minute classes left, which honestly, I feel like they might feel short to me because the 45 minutes feels like the right length. Like we do so few moves, so any shorter, I feel like you're gonna have to do even less moves. But I don't know, we'll see when I try them out later this week. It is now 2 days later, it's Tuesday morning, and I'm ready for some more yin yoga. We just have two 30-minute classes left, and I'm gonna do Aditi's today just to kind of alternate between the two, and I think I like Aditi more. So we'll get a little treat this morning. It's a 30-minute yin yoga class by Aditi Shaw from February 21st, 2023. There are only 12 movements, but I'm assuming every other one is transition, so very few movements in today's class. Honestly, 30 minutes might not be long enough, but we'll see. I'm going in with an open mind. I'm interested to see what she whips up today. So let's hit the mat and knock out this 30-minute yin yoga class. I think that that yoga class was just okay. I think that I thought it was just okay because it felt very repetitive. Like we've done all of these moves before in the 45-minute classes. So I feel like there was like nothing new. And it was also very leg focused. So if you're looking for a class that like only is about stretching out your quads and your legs, this would be a great class because the other classes usually like involve some sort of bending, so at least you stretched out your sides. And this class was all legs. So we started off with child's pose, which like no complaints there. Then we went into half butterfly pose where you have one leg bent, the other leg straight, and you are leaning forward. Then we did sleeping swan pose, which is basically the same thing as pigeon pose. It's just called something different. And then we finished off with dragon C pose, which is kind of like a kneeling lunge and then reaching over. So overall, the moves like weren't bad, but I just feel like we had done them before and we also didn't hold them for that long because there wasn't that much time in the class. Like 30 minutes flies by when you're holding each move like 3 to 5 minutes. So I feel like we held moves closer to like 2 to 3 minutes, which I like the longer time. And I also am not a huge fan of Dragon C pose in general. I don't know if I'm not doing it right, but I feel like it's like not that comfortable, or I like struggle to get into a good position where I'm feeling the stretch but can also hold it for a long time. I feel like I'm always like fidgeting a little bit. But Aditi was good. She definitely talked a little more at the beginning, but then like towards the end she was like quieter and quieter. So lots of time for some self-reflection, for some thinking, which I do enjoy in yin yoga. So overall, I'd say like enjoyability 5 out of 10. Honestly, this is probably my least favorite class so far, and difficulty like 3 out of 10. It's not very difficult, but I'm definitely curious to see how Dennis's 30-minute class rivals this class. So we'll see. It is now the next day. It's Wednesday morning and I'm ready to take my last yin yoga class. Today's class is a 30-minute yin yoga by Dennis Morton from February 21st, 2023. There are 7 movements in 30 minutes, so we're going slow as always. And I think that I like Aditi more, but I'm interested to see what Dennis brings to this class. I wasn't the hugest fan of Dennis' 45-minute class, so we'll see what I think of the 30-minute class. Either way, I think it'll be a nice way to kick off my Wednesday workouts. So let's go and knock out this yin yoga class. I actually really, really like that class. It might be my favorite yin yoga class. I would say I'm between this one or Aditi's 45-minute one, but I was expecting more of the same and just having it be really repetitive today since I have done the longer courses. But Dennis brought out some new moves that we haven't seen before, which I appreciate just because I like the variety. And we spent a lot of time in each pose, which I really liked. Like the minimum amount of time we spent was 3 minutes, and we even spent up to 5 minutes on each move. And since we did a couple moves on each side, it just felt very slow, but then I could like really focus and get to position. So we started out with child's pose, which is always a good one. And then we went into a move that I hadn't done before called melting heart pose, where you're essentially kind of doing child's pose, but your hips are above your knees. So you're like in a kneeling position and then you are like bending down drastically. So that was like a really intense back bend, which I enjoyed because a lot of these moves are also focused on your legs, I feel like. So I thought that was like a cool move to introduce. And then we went into Dragon A and Dragon B pose, which we've been doing Dragon C pose like this entire time. And it never occurred to me that there's like an A and B pose. I thought Dragon C pose was just what it was called, but it's very, very similar. It is like you're in a lunge. And then I think Dragon B, you kind of rotate and get some hip rotation in too. And he also like showed us how to do a hip opener with that as well. That's not my favorite move just because I feel like my shoulders and arms get really stiff during it, especially because we have to like hold up our upper body with our arms for quite a long time, especially since we do it on both sides. So I thought that was just okay, but I did think it was interesting that we had never done Dragon A or Dragon B before, so I appreciated that we touched on them in this class. And then we finished off with a reclining twist, which is a very basic move. It's in a lot of stretches, and it's where you just bring your knee over your opposite leg, which is straight, and then kind of like twist, and then have your arm out and get a nice full body twist going, which also feels very good. I will never complain about that move. And then we had Shavasana and it was over. So a very quick class, but I did really like the class today. Dennis definitely chatted a lot. Another thing that he has mentioned before, but I don't think I've touched on in this review, is that he mentions in pretty much every class that you should be coming into this cold because we like want to like work on the connective tissue. And if you come in too warm, you're not going to be able to do that. I always do these as the first exercise, but I just thought that it would be interesting to like throw that out there, that he does not want you to like do this at the end of exercise. You should be doing it at the beginning. I would give today's class like a 7.5 out of 10 for enjoyability. I did enjoy it. I didn't love the dragon poses, but you know, we got through them. And difficulty, probably like a 4 out of 5 to 10, just because I find the dragon pose hard. Like if you do these, let me know if you also find it hard on your arms. Maybe I need to be working out my arms and shoulders more. I don't know. But that is it for this video. I really enjoyed the yin yoga. I was worried that I would be bored during it, to be honest, because usually with slow moving things I am. And I don't know if this is like a sign that I'm maturing or if these are just kind of like more interesting classes that they still keep my attention. But I really enjoyed these and I will 100% retake them. And I hope that Peloton invests in the future and releases more, because they definitely release some classes, see how they do. And then if they don't do well, they'll just like never release anymore. But hopefully these are doing pretty well and they're going to release more in the future, because 5 classes is like not a ton of classes to be repeating all the time. But if you've taken yin yoga, let me know what your thoughts are. And if you've taken the yoga conditioning collection on Peloton, also let me know what you think of that. I've been eyeing it up. And yeah, I just have really been enjoying a lot of yoga, especially after my marathon. It's very nice to take some time and do a lot of stretching and yoga. I hope you guys are staying safe, having an awesome week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!